What's happening, guys? This is RRPG here, and I'm here to present another 2 cents video on the 2 cents block to you all. I know it has been a very long time since I have done one of these things, and I feel like the time is right that I go ahead and talk about this, since this is something that really peeves me with so many people who are acting very salty toward this whole ordeal. As most of you who are fans of Nintendo already know, Nintendo just had their most recent Nintendo Direct after a 5-month hiatus after their abysmal showing at E3 2015, and with the unfortunate passing of Satoru Iwata in July. This new Nintendo Direct is a time to learn about all new things and to get excited for all new content. And Nintendo really did hit it out of the ballpark with some very exciting announcements, not only on their part, such as the Twilight Princess HD remake, but having a lot of support coming in from Square Enix, with the US getting localization on Dragon Quest 7 and 8, which is about damn time too. Also, more information came about with Final Fantasy Explorers, as it is like Square Enix just made their own rendition of Monster Hunter with some Final Fantasy fan service added into the mix. A new tidbit with Bravely Second Inlayer hitting the 3DS in 2016 from all other regions outside Japan, and with Project Cross Zone 2 from Namco Bandai coming in early 2016. You can say that this new Nintendo Direct held so much loving for JRPG fans, both old and new, and it truly does show. But the real kicker that made so many people crap their pants with mostly excitement was that a new trailer was presented for Super Smash Bros. On the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS, with the inclusion of probably the most popular character in the Final Fantasy franchise, Strife from Final Fantasy VII. When I saw the visuals of the beginning of Final Fantasy VII appear with the stars appearing from space, and when Cloud is walking onto the Midgar stage in Smash Bros., my level of hype just went up to the max for many reasons. Like many people, including yours truly, Final Fantasy VII was the first game in the Final Fantasy series that I got into, as well as JRPGs in general, because of its story, gameplay, and overall delivery. Everything with what went on from the beginning to end lured me into the whole experience, and my liking toward Final Fantasy VII grew even bigger to this day. Of course, there are those who bitch and moan that Final Fantasy VII is severely overrated because it gets so much more attention than some of the other games that are on equal level or more superior like Final Fantasy VI. But my belief in the game is that it is a pretty damn good JRPG, even if it's not the best video game ever made. Now, of course, with Cloud's inclusion in Smash Bros., fans of Final Fantasy VII are stoked with this announcement, as it seems that another third party has jumped on the bandwagon with the others like Capcom, Namco Bandai, Sega, and others that the game is the ultimate fighting game collaboration that you can ever imagine. However, there are those who are shitting at both Nintendo and Square Enix on this announcement because of numerous reasons. Stuff like Final Fantasy games in the main series have abandoned Nintendo platforms because of what happened with the whole N64 debacle, to saying that Final Fantasy VII has never appeared on a Nintendo platform. So many people are just completely pissy and truly ungrateful when I feel that they aren't looking at the bigger picture for both Nintendo and third-party companies like Square Enix in general. Here are my explanations as to why Cloud's inclusion in Smash Bros. Is not ungrateful. Number 1, where Final Fantasy started. If you know your gaming history, then I really don't have to go into that much detail with you. However, I'll explain my case with this. The original Final Fantasy to Final Fantasy VI were on the Nintendo platforms with their original releases from 1987 to 1994, and the series at that time on Nintendo platforms have been very well received by both gamers and critics that it became a pinnacle to Nintendo's dominance in the retro gaming market during that time period, with Square helping them out in really strong strides. Of course, Final Fantasy games on the PlayStation helped Sony out as well, such as Final Fantasy VII, but this was also because the series is a third-party franchise that can be anywhere at any time. It doesn't matter if one game was on a specific platform where many people feel it should be exclusive or stuck to that desired medium. The fact still remains that Final Fantasy is a third-party game from a third-party company, and doing something in terms of fan service to both Nintendo fans and Final Fantasy fans alike is more like a tribute than an obligatory need for both publishers. Besides, Cloud's inclusion in something that is really spectacular like Super Smash Bros. Will show many die-hard Nintendo fans the type of character that Cloud is, with his cold, but cool and wise-ass persona that he showcased in his own game. There are other reasons for his inclusion, but let us continue on. Number 2, mending better bridges between Nintendo and third parties. We all have to admit that Nintendo has really slumped in these last 20 years, with having little to no third-party support on their home consoles, and partially on handhelds, even though the third-party support on handhelds is still phenomenal to this day. With the Wii and Wii U being the prime example of this, third-party support has been completely dead to them, as the likes of Capcom, Namco Bandai, Konami, Sega, Tecmo Koei, EA, Activision, Rockstar Games, and especially Square Enix have really shot themselves in the foot by overlooking both of these platforms in favor of making their games look pretty with the power that they have, albeit some still play really great with the gameplay. Doing something like having Cloud in Super Smash Bros. Is going to help bring about better opportunity for third-party companies to shine while partnering up with the Big N on stuff like this. Tecmo Koei and Team Ninja collaborating with Nintendo on Hyrule Warriors, bringing about the Golden Mega Man amiibo for the Mega Man Legacy Collection on the Nintendo 3DS, and having other popular characters like Sonic and Pac-Man appear in Super Mario Maker as sprites. These deals help third-party publishers and developers get an even greater deal of publicity when they are given the opportunity to do this, and Cloud in Super Smash Bros. Is no exception to that. If we take a look at the even bigger picture, his inclusion in Super Smash Bros. Could mean that more of Square Enix's games could be making their way onto Nintendo's home consoles, including the upcoming NX, as Square Enix has expressed great interest in bringing both Dragon Quest X and XI to the NX platform. So this could mean that the NX could potentially get games like Final Fantasy XV, Kingdom Hearts 3, and even the Final Fantasy VII Remake if deals like this were to come about. Now, some of you are probably going to say that the remake is a PlayStation 4 exclusive, but that is completely false, as Sony said that the game will be available first on the PlayStation 4 when it launches, so it is obvious that the remake is going to be a multi-platform release. If Nintendo does their part right with the NX, and if it can meet Square Enix's needs with how much they are putting into the remake, then the possibility of it being on the NX is going to be great. Besides, there is a strong indication of Cloud having his own amiibo for people to buy, and people would go ape nuts for that kind of thing when you take a look at how popular the guy is in the video game world. I'm serious, he ranks up in the top 5 most popular video game characters ever, like Mario, Link, Gordon Freeman from Half-Life, and Master Chief from Halo. Number 3. It's a smart business strategy on both sides. When we look at this from both Nintendo and Square Enix's side of the story, stuff like having Cloud in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS is not only a great deal of publicity for Square Enix, but it has really great benefits to both companies since they are businesses. Just think of the cash that they will both get for this, and with their stocks rising based on the money that both companies are printing for the DLC character and the amiibo that will come down the road. You gotta remember that both Super Smash Bros. And Final Fantasy are very profitable franchises for both Nintendo and Square Enix respectively, and both sides are looking at ways to earn more money and have strong increases toward their shares in the stock market since they are both still in the same field. Look at how well Square Enix's shares rose with the big reveal at the Sony E3 2015 press conference of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer. As you can see, those are a few good reasons why Cloud's inclusion in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS isn't really all that bad when you take a look at possibly the bigger picture between both Nintendo and Square Enix. On one side, I can understand some of the complaints that people have, like Final Fantasy VII was only on the PlayStation consoles, and how its likeliness has been more of a poster child towards Sony as a whole, but at the same time, those people who made those criticisms need to take a look at the other side of the coin and see why Cloud and Smash Bros. Actually makes sense. I'm not saying that this applies to everybody, as I feel that first-party characters like Master Chief from Halo and Kratos from God of War are not permissible for a ballot entry in Smash, because they are owned by Nintendo's competitors. However, if they worked out a deal with money being involved, then that is a whole other issue. But that probably won't happen, which is why I do not see the chances of Banjo-Kazooie appearing since they are owned by Microsoft. Saying stuff like Final Fantasy VII is overrated, or that Cloud is a stereotypical anime swordsman, are pretty weak excuses, as both the game and the character are very popular in the gaming world where they both stood the test of time in many people's eyes. Saying that there are too many sword fighters in Smash is understandable, but when looking at DLC characters, there seems to be more fighter archetypes than sword fighters and gunfighters combined. However, I still see Cloud's inclusion in Smash as going to be a great thing for both Nintendo and Square Enix when you look at the many logistics behind this decision. Another thing to take into account is that Cloud did not win the fan bracket, as we will most likely see who is going to be the winners who appear in Smash with the December 2015 Smash Bros. Direct that is happening. So don't crap your pants in thinking that Cloud won it, as that is entirely false. We still don't know when Cloud will release as a DLC character, but I guess we will find out in December when that Nintendo Direct about Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS will be released. By the way, the upcoming broadcast will be the last we will get for the game, as it seems like Nintendo is about to wrap up having DLC in Smash and move on to other projects, so I just wanted to give you a heads up right there. Anyway, that is all of my 2 cents, as I want to thank both Shawn Long and Jason Lepine from Nintendo Enthusiast, who had some very interesting points they talked about when they answered my question I had on their latest edition of Class vs. Crass. If you watched that episode of their podcast, you can tell that Jason was the one who was the most excited, while Shawn was the one who was the most salty, which I found to be hilarious. However, both guys are great, as I recommend you go to Nintendo Enthusiast on YouTube and their website at nintendoenthusiast.com to get your insight on Nintendo-related news. Now, I want to hear from from all of you guys. Are you excited for Cloud Strife's addition into the Super Smash Bros. Roster? Are you indifferent? Are you upset? Do you think its inclusion will paint a better relationship for both Nintendo and Square Enix as a whole? Make sure to rate this video as well as leaving your positive and negative feedback down in the comments. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button underneath this video, as more support from you guys will mean that more content is coming from me in the future that you won't find anywhere else. I gotta get back to work on my Final Fantasy retrospective, as I want to try to aim the third episode to come out around Christmas time, but I'll have to see. Until next time, this is Double RPG signing off by saying Godspeed and game on, gamers. Have a good one.